Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about a murder that unfortunately happened within a Jehovah's Witness family in North Carolina. But before we get into that, I want to give a couple of updates. In the first update, I am going to be talking about this protest, Shun No More 2024. And so if you check out this website, it'll take you to eventbrite.com where you can find information about the protest. It says Suicide Prevention Month, which is in September, which is quite fitting for this protest. 2024, Shun No More, September 13th. Everyone has the same right to justice. Join us in solidarity as we stand to protect our First Amendment right of religious freedom. Stand against CSA, shunning, and religious funding oversight. Date and time is Friday, September 13th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Location is right in front of the White House. About this event, it says this peaceful protest during Suicide Prevention Month 2024 seeks to shun no more and shed light on the dark plight of those tethered to high control religious groups and organizations. We stand for accountability, religious freedom without punishment, and proper oversight of child sex abuse reports. Be prepared for an emotional experience as you hear the tears and echoes of lifetimes that have passed by, years and lives desperate to be reclaimed from the grip of these groups. Registration is required to ensure capacity limits are maintained for everyone's safety. The location will be heavily protected by MPD. Parking will be extremely limited in the city due to the event, so plan accordingly. Despite the heavy emotional toll, this protest aims to protect our rights and give voice to those who have been silenced for too long by these abusive systems. Together, we can shun no more. So if you are interested in attending this event, please go ahead and register for it. Even if you would like to speak at this event, you can also sign up for that. If you would like to go directly to their website, you can go to BeFreeProtest.com, and I'll show you what the website looks like. Join fellow survivors of religious abuse and their allies in protesting the harmful practices of the Jehovah's Witness organization and other high control religious groups and demanding that lawmakers hold them accountable for the harm they do. And again, you have all the information. And so if this interests you, definitely go to their website and register to attend. I know a lot of other XJW YouTubers who will be there, and they will be live streaming the event. So if you would like to turn notifications on, please go to XJWMJ on YouTube. He will be streaming it on his channel. So you click the live tab, and then you see here, you can click notifications on, which I have. Shun No More 2024 live stream. I'm very happy that other XJW YouTubers who are able to attend and even be speakers at this event are going to make the trip and be there. We can also just share our experiences and grow together. That's it for my updates, and now we are going to get straight into the story about this murder. So this article is titled, After He Killed His Cousin, He Moved Into Her Bedroom. Charlotte Murder Witnesses Testify. And this article was updated on August 23rd, 2024. And so this is a photo of Derek Ward before his 2010 arrest. He is now defending himself in a pro se murder trial in the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. So this murder happened in 2010. Kim and Mikey have also covered it. And so that's how I was made aware of this story. And so I want to do an in-depth analysis of what happened in this situation. So it goes on to read, it says inside apartment 201, Brittany Ward and her sister shared a bedroom. Days after her murder, the man police say killed her moved in. He took Brittany's twin bed, where on May 5th, 2010, she lay stiffly with bloody sheets and a bruised neck, and filled her dresser and closet with his clothes. Brittany's mother and siblings revealed new details in her murder while testifying in Derek Ward's Charlotte trial Wednesday. Testimony continued through Friday and will resume next week. They told the jury that Ward, a cousin they barely knew, said he came to their home to get the demon out of Brittany. Brittany, then 23, had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia for nearly 5 years, family said. They believed him when he said she was possessed. They said, at least back then. Ward is accused of murdering and raping Brittany in May 2010, weeks after her family first met him. In Mecklenburg County Courthouse this week, he is representing himself in Charlotte's first pro se murder trial since 2012. Despite concerns about Ward's mental health from his mother and advising lawyer, Chief Superior Court Judge Carla Archie allowed the trial to continue this week. Ward has been in jail for 14 years. Judges have found him mentally unfit to stand trial several times. And so here goes a picture of the article where it details that police have charged a 24-year-old man with raping and killing his 23-year-old cousin earlier this month. So this was an article in 2010. So it says that they have arrested him and that the cousins were living in the same apartment on Providence Court. Officers responded to the house on May 5th when Brittany Ward was found dead. Homicide investigators interviewed people living at the home, collected evidence from the scene, and sent Brittany Ward's body to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy. Later, police said extended family members called homicide detectives with new information about the case. The detectives conducted more interviews and then signed murder warrants against Derek Ward. Family members could not be reached for comment. He was in Mecklenburg jail Tuesday afternoon with no bond. And so that article, that clipping, was posted on May 26, 2010. Details shared so far in court have established a timeline surrounding Derek Ward's abrupt arrival, foreshadowing comments and behavior after Brittany's death. I'm here to do something. In 2010, Brittany, her 3 siblings, and her mother, Dawn Ward, lived in Charlotte. Derek Ward did not. One day, he messaged Fallon, Brittany's younger 16-year-old sister, on Facebook and asked for the family's home phone number. He was her cousin, he told Fallon, and he wanted to see Brittany. She gave him the number, and then he showed up in late April unannounced with Bradley, another cousin the family vaguely knew. The two left after a nice visit, family said in court. And then Ward returned alone a week later. Why is he here? Fallon texted her mom. You tell me, mini-me, Dawn responded. Text messages shared in court show. I'm here to do something, Ward told Fallon. You're not going to understand why I'm doing it, but we're here to have a good time. Ward in court Thursday suggested Brittany had messaged him on Facebook first. In 2010, from April 29 to May 4th, the family ate, played games, and walked in the neighborhood with Ward. Each said during their time on the witness stand, they had a good time, or at least a decent time. All said they were nervous and afraid of Ward. He hugged Fallon a little too tight and told her she could be a porn star. He said he wanted to have sex with her when she turned 18, she said in court. He could be violent too, they said. A few days before, what prosecutors say was her murderer, Ward choked her 3 times. Brittany's sisters testified in court. He threw her on the bed once, they said, and got her water in between rounds of squeezing his hands around her neck. At one point, she foamed from the mouth. He said he was trying to get the demon out, they testified. Later that day, he dragged Brittany outside and down the stairs. He said they needed to walk around and get the demon to latch onto something else, like an animal. Carly, one of the three sisters, said from the witness stand. Fallon remembered hearing Brittany get pulled down the stairs outside their unit in Providence Court's apartments. Stop, stop, Fallon heard. Get your hands off me. Leave me alone. I'm not a demon. On May 5th, 2010, Brittany died, but when exactly she died remains unknown, according to testimony. When her sisters got home that Wednesday afternoon, Carly checked her room. Brittany was in there, she said. She was facing the wall with blankets draped up to her shoulders. Unknown to Carly, the blankets covered the bloody sheets. Brittany's still sleeping, Carly told her mom when she got home. They let her sleep in, nothing seemed off. At 5:30 p.m., Dawn went to check on Brittany. She said Brittany's name, then called it a second time, then screamed it. Each sister testified. After no response, the group filed into her room and saw a pale, almost blue Brittany. She had a bruised neck and bloody underwear, photos show. Ward knew what to do, he said confidently, even calmly. After they discovered her, the sisters recounted. The demon had her, he said, according to their testimony. They just needed to clean her up and get it out. Dawn and her kids followed his instruction. They got a bucket of water and towels and cleaned her legs. They dressed her in a new nightgown, grabbing it from the drawers where Ward would soon fill with his own clothes. They put new underwear on her and moved her off the bed. Then they prayed. Dawn then called the elders at her Kingdom Hall, where Jehovah's Witnesses congregate. She said her daughter was possessed. Later that night, they came to look at Brittany. Knowing Brittany's history of mental illness and thought she may be showing symptoms of her schizophrenia, said Richard Marshall, one of the elders. During testimony, Marshall recounted when he knocked on 201's door. Dawn answered, he said. Ward wasn't far behind. He was eating in the kitchen. It was Cinco de Mayo, Marshall remembered, and it was hot outside. It was hot inside the 3-bedroom apartment in Southeast Charlotte. Ward inserted himself in Dawn and Marshall's conversation and again said he knew exactly what was going on. He talked about demons again and said inappropriate things about children having sex, Marshall said. When Ward asked him to elaborate during his cross-examination, Marshall said he didn't remember specifics. Marshall did clearly remember going back to the room where Brittany lay. He took her hand. It was cold, he told the courtroom. Cold to the touch. This ain't good, he said, he thought at the time. Prosecutors Friday morning asked if he checked for a pulse. Marshall didn't, he said, adding he didn't know how. Continuing with his testimony, Marshall told Dawn she should call 911. This seemed like a medical emergency, not something elders could address, he told her. Paramedics, then police, then investigators soon came. First, it was a death investigation. Then it was a homicide investigation. On Friday afternoon, prosecutors continued to call Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department officers, detectives, and analysts to the witness stand. Their testimony is expected to detail how they eventually arrested Ward and later Dawn. Dawn was charged with murder, concealing a death after the fact, and incest in 2010. Testifying in court Thursday, Dawn said at some point before Brittany passed, she and Ward started having sex. In court, Dawn declined any willfully romantic or sexual relationship and said she felt she had to have sex with Ward. At one point, Ward called it a ritual, she said. The two were related, even only by marriage. And so here goes another article clipping where it's titled, Woman Charged with Murder in Daughter's Death. And so there goes her mother, Dawn Ward, and then a picture of Derek Ward. Prosecutors dropped the incest and murder charge, and Dawn pleaded guilty to concealing a death after the fact. She served 5 months in prison and several years on probation. That November, she asked to have the charge expunged from her record. A judge granted the request. This is shocking. Oh my God. So that's the gist of the story. If you would like to view it yourself, I'm going to link it in the description box. So, my initial thoughts about this whole story, this whole situation is it really just boils down to a lot of mental illness. I can really identify that a lot of the language being used, the the talk about that he needed to take the demon out of her and things like that. To me, it kind of sounds like he's dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and it seems like it runs in the family because apparently Brittany had mental health issues as well. But we kind of see this a lot where nobody really stands up for themselves. I mean, even the family said that he was weird, that they were afraid of him, that he could get violent. So why would they allow him around them? I don't know. Maybe it's manipulation. Maybe it's um, gaslighting. Maybe it's a lot of um, emotional and psychological abuse that this man was doing to his own family. But I find it kind of weird that they would let him live with them, and then the abuse sort of just continued and nobody did anything until something bad happened. I mean, that's really the pattern that I see. That is exactly what it is. It is a pattern of abuse that just goes unnoticed, it goes unchecked, it goes it just goes on until the ultimate crime happens, whether it's CSA, whether it's SA, whether it's murder. All of these are just crimes that happened because there was no intervention when the abuse was happening. I find it kind of weird and super concerning that even her mother saw her daughter quite visibly not alive and didn't do anything about it, but just did whatever Ward said. And concealing the death is just shocking to me because I mean, I've never seen a dead body, but if I was to see one, especially a family member, I would freak out. So why did they just go along with what he said? Like I have a million questions running through my head right now. And I'm thinking like, okay, and this happened in 2010. This is not that far away. This is like in modern day, modern times. What what possesses you to just not react, in the way that I think that you would if you saw something like this in front of you? There's no logic in this. There's just no logic in this, especially when they mentioned in the article that he was even having sex with Britney's mom and considered it a ritual. I mean, all of these words and just all of these phrases, all of it sounds demonic to me. I'm just going to be honest. It sounds very satanic and it sounds really weird for this to be happening, especially if they were Jehovah's Witnesses. Once again, the most interesting part is that instead of calling 911 first, they call the elders. I'm glad that the elder was honest enough to admit that he didn't even know what to do in that situation and that they should call 911. That's how you have to view these people, these elders. You have to view them as inexperienced people. They do not know how to deal with any of these things on a professional level. And yet they are the first ones that Jehovah's Witnesses will call when something bad happens. They never just call the police. I mean, I'm baffled. I'm like, I am mind boggled once again that the very first thing to do was to call an elder. The very first thing to do was to just listen to whatever the perpetrator said. That must be a really high level of manipulation. And I'm so sorry that this happened to her, to Brittany, and that this is happening in court even now when all of these details and emotions are resurfaced. And it's kind of sick to think that they were Jehovah's Witnesses and yet something like this can happen. So you see, it doesn't really matter what religion you're in. Those things don't matter. Bad things happen to everyone. And so that idea of, oh, well, you need to go to Kingdom Hall, you need to be spiritual, you need to follow Jehovah, you need to have Jehovah's Holy Spirit to be safe, and like things like that. That's why I reject that line of thinking. I don't believe in those things anymore because of that. It's because, you know, some of the witnesses believe that because they're Jehovah's Witnesses, that they are either immune or exempt from bad things happening to them, and that if something did happen, then it was because you wasn't loyal to Jehovah enough, you wasn't spiritual enough, or whatever the case may be. And so, no, bad things can happen to anybody. And when those abusive behaviors present themselves, you need to shut them down immediately. You need to call the police immediately if you feel a bad vibe about a person. You don't let them move in with you. You don't live with them. You don't let this abuse continue on. Like, so that's gonna conclude my video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.